Hello, welcome to LJG Sports. If you watched the Ryan Garcia and Romero fight, I am sorry, and yes, I am just as disappointed as you are. I was rooting for Ryan Garcia. That's not why I'm mainly disappointed. I just thought it was honestly a bad fight, a bad card, honestly, just overall. So we're gonna get into all that. First, I want to focus on the Ryan Garcia Romero fight, obviously, because Ryan Garcia was a massive favorite in this fight. I think at one point he was plus 700 or plus 1,000 to lose, or obviously minus 700, minus 1,000 to win, and like that's a big favorite. And he just came out very flat, in my opinion. And I honestly don't know what was wrong. He seemed off. I think he tweeted later that he just was off tonight, and it's like, okay, maybe. But I think in round one, it was very low output, and it was very telling of what was to come. But we'll get into that later. So I think, personally, the way I scored it, round one, I thought Garcia won. He was more established. He hit him with the jab a couple times. Nothing really happened in round one, but I feel like this was actually definite round for Garcia, which there wasn't many. This might have been the only one. Round two is where the only really interesting thing happened in the fight, where Romero with a nice double left hook, I believe it was a left hook, right on Ryan Garcia's chin, put him down. It didn't like completely phase him, but it did take Garcia quite a bit before he seemed fully back into it. And from that point on, I feel like the next 3-4 rounds were, even 5 possibly, were very tossy-turny. You could argue Rolly Romero was more aggressive, but he was missing a lot, and he was throwing more, he was more active, but he just wasn't really landing anything significant at all. And it's not like Ryan Garcia was landing anything significant, but he was more timely. I felt like he was more patient, and he connected with more of his jabs in those next couple of rounds. So it was very toss and turny. I gave round 3 to Romero, 4 and 5 to Garcia, and then I gave 6 to Romero, 7 to Garcia. And from that point on, the last 5 rounds, which was 8 through 12, completely dominant on Romero's part. It's not like he won these rounds by a lot, but I believe like 10 and 11 he won definitely. But the other ones, he was just putting more output, and Ryan Garcia was not doing anything. Like, he was not doing anything. I don't know if that round 2 knockdown really shook him, and he was like, damn, this guy can hit. And if I get hit again, I don't think I can continue, or I'm going to go to sleep. But he just looked like out of it. I don't know how to explain it. He felt flat. Not much action at all. No sense of urgency, even in the last round where he was down. His coach, you could see he was pleading with him to, like, come on, Garcia, wake up. And he just did not let his hands go. And it was a very bad fight to watch. Like I said, I wanted Garcia to win just because I've kept up more with Ryan Garcia's fights. I've watched more of his fights. I do like watching him fight. I like that speedy, quick left hook that he has. Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney was a great fight. I remember watching that with my family, and they're not even big boxing fans, but they enjoyed it, and they stayed to watch like the whole fight. And that was a great fight, and this fight just felt so bleh. After all that time waiting, even the Devin Haney fight, and that's another thing that we can get into. I didn't watch all of that fight. I was at work. I watched most of it from 6 to 12. That was a snooze fest and a half. Devin Haney won, and I would say pretty convincingly from what I saw, but he did not look great either. It was just a disappointing card to begin with. From start to end, it was pretty bad. So obviously, Garcia lost unanimous decision. 2 judges had it 115, 112, and then 1 judge had it 118 to 109. I personally had it 116, 111 Romero. And interestingly enough, after the fight was over, it showed like the stats of how many power punches were thrown, how many jabs were thrown. Garcia did not throw nearly as many punches, I don't think, in any category. But he landed more jabs and he landed more power punches, I believe. And fact check me on that and down in the comments if I am wrong. But like, he didn't necessarily, by the stats, have a terrible fight. And I could have even told you that watching the fight. Romero was the aggressor, but he was not landing anything significant. Besides maybe a couple shots in round 11, I believe, and then round 2, obviously, with a knockdown. But he wasn't doing that much. Ryan Garcia he had very low volume. And yeah, he connected more accurately than Romero, but he was not the aggressor. He did not control the ring, and it was just little to no activity. And so you can't get a win when it's like that. Plus, you could see it in Garcia and his team. They didn't even try to play it up. Like, you know how they will be when a fighter, you've lost, but you have to, celebrate after if it goes the distance because you're trying to show that confidence to sway the judges. And they didn't even have that. They knew they lost. It was just it was disappointing to see, personally, as just a guy who does like to watch boxing every now and then. I like to watch the big fights, but it was just a boring fight. And that's what I'm going to get into. Obviously disappointing for Garcia, disappointing for the Garcia-Haney rematch for both of their performances, especially Ryan Garcia's. A huge upset historically. And another historically thing that happened this night, which is not a good thing, is that, at least Romero beating Garcia as the massive underdog is somewhat exciting. Big underdog, beat Garcia. Ever since boxing has been keeping track of, I don't know what they call it. Let me know down in the comments if you know, but it's where they keep track of punches thrown, jabs thrown, landed, stuff like that, jabs landed. Ever since they've been keeping track of that, this fight was the third least outputting fight ever, which means ever since they've been keeping track of these things, this is the third slowest fight, you could say, because Garcia and Romero barely threw anything throughout the whole fight. And that was, when I heard that after the fight, I was like, yep, I could see that definitely. Because this was one of, if not the worst boxing fight I have ever watched in my life. It was very disappointing, especially when you come to watch Ryan Garcia, who garners a lot of social media attention. And I don't feel like his boxing skills are up to par with how much attention he gets, but he's exciting to watch. That Devin Haney fight was fun to watch. Even him against Gervonta Davis, that was fun to watch. And he was disappointing. The fight was disappointing. The card was disappointing. And historically, a very terrible fight. And bad for boxing in general. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Very disappointing night overall. Disappointing for Ryan Garcia. For the hopes of another hyped up Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia rematch. Disappointing for boxing as a whole and going forward. Let me know what you thought of the fight. Let me know if you were keeping track of the score. What score did you have? If they got it right, if they didn't get it right. And what do you think's next for Ryan Garcia?